Hey guys, welcome to Beyond Business. Today, we're going to be talking about Starlink and why it isn't actually expensive. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Yeah, it's expensive. It's hundreds of dollars just for the dish alone. What are you talking about? You're crazy. Well, I'm here to talk about why it's actually not expensive. Now, a lot of the people looking at Starlink are thinking, hey, I'm paying $50, $60, and I'm getting 100 megabytes per second internet. And they might be thinking, well, why would I pay, $600 for a dish? Starlink isn't for you. That's it. It's not for you. You should not be buying Starlink if you have access to decent speeds at a great price. Starlink is for people that do not have access to this. If you're living in the city or the suburbs, you have no business buying satellite internet. It just doesn't make sense. It's going to be more expensive. It's going to be slower. And it's just, you might not even be able to set it up. Like if you're living in an apartment in New York, there's no way you're going to put the satellite anywhere. Now, if you don't live in the city or the suburbs, SpaceX's Starlink starts to make a whole lot more sense. When you look at the industry, there's really only two companies that control the satellite internet market in the United States. Let's have a look at the first one, Viasat. Here are the latest prices that I could find for Viasat internet. Now, just looking at this, it's already a lot more expensive than SpaceX. Have a look at the Unlimited Platinum 100 plan. It's $200 plus a month. It's only 300 gigabytes of data per month, and the maximum download speed is only up to 100 megabits per second. And that might say up to 100 megabits per second, but are you actually going to get anything close to that? I'm going to say probably not. When you look at SpaceX, people are actually getting the speeds that have been claimed by Elon Musk versus Viasat, which you're probably not going to get even close to that. And the data cap is fairly small since the average American probably downloads a lot more than 300 gigabytes per month. Actually, I know they do. Here are some numbers for that. So these numbers might be a little bit inflated because of the coronavirus. But even without the coronavirus, you can see that the average American's internet usage was going up steadily. And we're approaching about 400 gigabytes a month, and it's probably going to stay around that and continue to go up just because people are using computers more, downloading more, and that's not likely to change. The internet is not a fad. That's why Viasat's internet doesn't really make any sense. Why would you pay $200 a month to get yourself a data cap of only 300 gigabytes? If you have SpaceX's Starlink available to you, you would go with that just because you would get unlimited internet and you would probably get much better speeds for it as well. Also, it's half the cost, so that's just an added bonus. It's also important to note that these costs aren't including things like installation and the satellite dish. So Viasat's monthly fee is higher than SpaceX's Starlink, and the installation cost is probably similar to SpaceX's Starlink. So it doesn't really make sense to go with it. If it was me personally, I would just pony up the $499 for SpaceX's Starlink and pay the $99 a month for it, since I'm going to be getting a better product and it's actually cheaper. Another advantage that SpaceX's Starlink has is that the cost is likely to go down over time. So right now it is a new product and there really isn't mass manufacturing probably happening at the scale that we're likely to see in the near future. So the dish itself is likely to decrease in price. Installation is probably going to get more simplified, and the monthly price is probably subject to change. So it might even go up slightly depending on what the competition does, or it might go down, or it might be variable according to the area. So we don't know, but right now it is a compelling product when you look at what we have in the market. So just to go back to the point that I talked about earlier, this product is compelling if you have satellite internet right now or very poor options for internet. If you live in the city or the suburbs, you're likely going to be able to buy better internet and at a better price. So this really isn't the product for you. Who knows, in the future that might change, but for right now, I would not be looking into any type of satellite internet if I was living in the city or suburbs that offered something that was somewhat compelling, which I would say 95% of us do have. Now, let's talk about HughesNet. This is one of the biggest competitors in the satellite internet space in America, alongside Viasat. Its offering really isn't much better. So for $139 a month, you're going to get 50 gigabytes worth of data and a max speed of 25 megabits per second, which is laughable when you look at what Starlink is offering with pretty much unlimited data and close to 100 megabits per second. So this really isn't a compelling offer in any way, which is why it doesn't really make sense to get HughesNet over Starlink. Starlink is the superior product in every single metric. The only advantage that Viasat and HughesNet have is being available to the public. When Starlink exits beta and is available to everybody, there's really not going to be any need to buy Viasat or HughesNet satellite internet, since they're both more expensive and they're both worse than what Starlink is going to be offering. I'm not the only one that thinks that this is a problem for Viasat and HughesNet. When you take a look at the stock of Viasat, you can just see it plunging at the beginning of 2020. A lot of that is probably due to the coronavirus, but a lot is probably due to SpaceX's Starlink launching and getting out of beta. I would not want to be Viasat right now. I don't really see a way for them to recover this, just because they don't own their own launch vehicle. SpaceX owns their own rockets. They have a huge advantage over Viasat and HughesNet, or really any other competitor that doesn't own their own rockets. So it's going to be really tough for them to compete, and I don't think it's going to be really possible for them to compete. The only companies that'll actually be able to compete with Starlink are going to be companies that own their own rockets. So it's possible for Blue Origin to possibly compete with Starlink, and we might see something like that in the future, since there's already talks of that happening. But for now, in the near term, Starlink is probably going to be the only real company offering satellite internet at what I would consider viable rates. In conclusion, if you have satellite internet, SpaceX, Starlink is going to be your best option in the near future. If you live in the city or suburbs, Starlink doesn't really make sense for you, and it probably is never going to make any sense for you. Your local ISP will probably offer you better rates. That's why these prices probably just seem shocking to you. Who would want to pay $500 for a satellite dish and $100 a month for internet? Well, a lot of people that have no option for internet are willing to pay anything they can just to get it. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I'm going to be making more videos like this in the near future. Thank you for watching.